So this video demonstrates a new filter type that we've just introduced to the Adaptable Blotter called named filters. And this is our most sophisticated and advanced filter yet. And before we show you what it does, it's probably worth quickly reviewing the existing filter types we have, and then you can sort of see its place in the filter range. So of all the filters we have, the most basic is the column filter. That is where you can go into any column and you can either ask to see particular column values. So here we're looking at 7, 10 and 13, and then you can see those there. Or you can say for a column, you might want to do a range, so you can see anywhere where it's greater than 12, and you'll see that as well. So 7, 10, 13 and greater than 13. Or you can actually compare it to another column, so you can say where that is less than the order cost column. So anywhere where it's less than the order cost column and the values we saw before. That's a very basic column filter. You obviously can do that for string columns as well. So for instance, we say we want to see UK, the USA, and I don't know, Canada and Germany. Then there we are, that's our filter. You can of course also use a filter bar to do exactly the same thing. So if we want to do our greater than 10, we can do greater than 10 and we see everything that's greater than 10. Or if you want to see anything which has J, you can do that. Anything which starts with J, which in this case is the same thing. So they're column filters. We've also got system filters. They're filters that you ship with the Adaptable Blotter. So for instance, I can go in, and then normally these ones here, which are italicized. So if I go into a date column, I can say I want to see anything that's this year. If I go into a number column, I can say anything, I want to see anything that's negative. That will give me nothing in this case, or blanks, positive, etc., etc. So they're system columns. Let's delete the order date column. And the last one, that's system filters. And the last one, which already exists, is called the user filter. And the user filter is essentially when you save a column filter for reuse. So for instance, here, we've already chosen Canada, Germany, UK and USA. So what we're going to now do is we're going to save that. We're going to give that a name called Big Countries. I don't know why I'm calling it Big Countries, but there we are. And now that's called Big Countries. If I want to, I can clear that filter. And then anytime I want, if I go into Big Countries, I filter just on those. And obviously I can reuse that. So if I want to create a conditional style, I can. And I can say I want the back row to be yellow, the fore row to be purple, let's say, where, and then if I go into the country, ship country column, instead of doing column values, I'll do a filter on Big Countries, and there we are. You can see I've only got those. Okay, I'm going to delete that so that it doesn't get in the way. So they're the existing filters. But what happens if you want to do something more complicated? What happens if you want to create a filter that is based not just on the values in that column, but across other values in the row, or even if you want to do a lookup against a database or an external service? So that's where named filters come in. And in this example here, which is taken from our demo site, we've created 3 named filters. We've got one which is called high, and that basically has a scope. That means that's where it works on the order ID column. So the order ID column has a named filter called high. The employee column has a named filter called new starter. And the data type columns, that means any column which is a date, has a filter called post takeover. So if we want to see those in action, we can. Let's go back. Oops, didn't need to do that. How do I come out of here? So if I go into, say, the order ID column, we've got high, and we can see that's doing something. We can go into the order date column, which is any column, and there's our post takeover. And I believe we had one in employee called new starter. But what's actually happening there? So what we've done there is, again, if you go down to the predefined config, and this is part of our usual predefined config, you can see we've also added something called predicate name. So for the high, we've got a predicate name called high order. For the new starter, the predicate name is new starter. And for the post takeover, it's post takeover. So what's happening there? Well, what we've done is in our blotter options, as part of the usual blotter options, of which we have many, there's a new section called user functions, which is in the advanced section, and that is where you provide the predicate that you want the adaptable blotter to run each time you need to evaluate that filter. So for instance, in the predicate will take by default the entire record, i.e. the entire row. It will take the name of the column and the current value. So for instance, in order to assess high order, we look at the invoice cost column, we look at the item count column in that row, and we basically say if the invoice is greater than 1,000 and if the item count is greater than 10, run true. For the new starter, we're looking at a CRM service, so we're basically running up a CRM service for each employee, and that returns me their status, and if it returns new, I return true, otherwise I return false. And last, for the post takeover, I've got a fictitious date here, and I'm doing this, and I actually could do this one if I wanted to as a user function, but we do it as a name function because obviously this date might come from somewhere else and it might be more complicated. So basically we've given at design time the adaptable blotter these three functions, and then the adaptable blotter will evaluate each of those functions each time it needs to run. So now when I do hi, you can see it's only returned where the invoice is greater than 1,000 and the item count is greater than 10. And likewise, if I do employee, it's only returned me those three employees, Robert, Andrew and Laura, who are new. And if I do post takeover, then basically it's giving me anything after the date of our putative takeover. So that's what a named filter is. It's like a user filter, but it's one where you provide us with the predicate function that has to be evaluated, and we in turn give you the entire row, so you can do all kinds of lookups and you can have a much more complicated function. And lastly, like with the user function, we can of course use those name filters in many other places. So I can, for instance, like last time, do a conditional style. So I can say, let's make any row to have a back color of this delightful blue, and then do my employee. And now I'm going to use my new starter predicate function. And there we go. And I can use that in other places. So for instance, let's imagine I wanted to run a report. So let's go into export. I can quickly create a report. I can say, show me all the columns where the row has an order date of post takeover. There we are. That's the named function. I won't do a schedule. And now, if I export that to CSV, when I run that up, you can see it's only returned the dates which are in our per takeover date. So there we are. That's the name filter function. Allows you to filter any column or even a set of columns by type according to a predicate function that you provide. It fits very nicely with all our existing filter functions, and it really proves once again that the Adaptable Blotter has the most advanced feature set of filter functionality anywhere on the street. Thank you for watching, and please get in touch with any questions or if you want to learn more.